Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Yvette LaBoy, and today we have licensed clinical social worker and therapist Larissa Correa from Empower Counseling. Welcome, Larissa. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi there, Yvette. Thanks so much for having me. It's such an honor. I've witnessed your life. We've been friends for a long time, and it's such a privilege to be on this show.
Thank you, Larissa. For me, it's an honor to see how much you have achieved in your life. And we're going to be talking about this today because for me, it's an honor. And you always have inspired me with all the things that you have achieved in your life and the way you have transformed your life. So I'm super happy that you're here to share that story with others and tell them how you went from point A to point B and to just transforming into this really amazing woman. You always were amazing, but now you're like super amazing Wonder Woman, and you're out there kicking butt and just helping so many people in this world. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks again.
My pleasure. Can you share with our viewers what type of practice you have and what community you serve?
Okay, so when I first, predominantly right now in Miami, it's adults. So my practice is pretty much split up between, I'm contracted through various agencies. So I work with the elderly population in South Florida, and I also work supporting people with comorbidities who are located in New York, New Jersey, and Florida via telehealth. So it's a behavioral health platform that supports individuals who have various conditions and are struggling to get back on just get a better hold of their health. So it's specific programs to help those individuals. And it's my company was contracted through that, and in addition to another agency. So it's not so much that I'm working independently. I'm the groups of individuals that I'm working here in Miami and that I'm supporting are mostly either individuals who are of the Latino, people of color, people who are struggling, either don't have insurance or haven't identified access to care. And it's mostly marginalized communities, the communities in Alapata, in terms of face-to-face. But due to the pandemic, most of it has been transitioned to telehealth.
Okay, great. You used to, though, when you first started, you were based in New York City, and then you went over to Florida.
Mm-hmm. When I was in New York City, I was focused mostly on children, adults, and families who Latinos specifically in the Long Island area that didn't have mental health services available to them, given the community that they were in, specifically like Smithtown, Patchogue, and I partnered with Long Island Community Hospital and provided them with their cancer support group, which met once a month. And it's, it's still going after I moved to Miami. But that was a great milestone for me because when I opened my practice, and you say I opened my practice, it's really one person, so it was something that was very important to me, and it was something that I worked to do, and being able to help the people in the community that couldn't help get care. That was just big, and being able to be recognized by a hospital and such as Long Island Community Hospital and Brookhaven Hospital, that was a big thing for me. So that really helped open doors for me. And I did also partner with Lodestar Children's Services, who was a colleague of mine who opened the charity after working with me in YAI, Young Adult Institute for, I'm sorry, I get nervous. Sorry, ramble. I worked in for children, adults and children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So most of my career is with that. But that's how I met my colleague who opened up that wonderful Long Island charity that supports children in Long Island who need mental health services. And I was one of his first one of his first companies that he hired to provide in-home care. So that was another big thing for me.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Larissa.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now, can you share your story of how you transformed your life? Because prior to doing what you're doing today, there was a lot of changes and a lot of
Yeah,
transformation in your life that
yeah,
you created. And I
yeah,
know you had help from other areas, but really, if you
yeah.
didn't want to do it, you wouldn't have done it. And I think that your story is really amazing. And I want to share that. And I want to give you the time to share that. But we're going to have to take a break right now. And when we
Okay.
come back, if you could elaborate on that story, because I think that our viewers will get a lot from that. Okay. Can you share a little bit of that with our viewers?
Yeah. So prior to this person that you see right here, I I would say that my life pretty much started to take a turn. I was married and I married pretty young, and loving crazy. And then probably midway through the marriage, well, discovered early on that the marriage was toxic, but early, you know, midway through the marriage, became depressed, started drinking a lot. I had a very lucrative job. I was in a good position. Um, I was doing event planning for a technology company, and so my work would take me to exciting different things. And I was one of those high functioning individuals, and the life of the party. So everything was just great until I got home. Um, eh, but life just the toxicity in my marriage and in my life just got out of hand. And after a lot of work and trying to lots of depression, um, a lot of self-hate, and three suicide attempts, um, trying to hold on to a marriage that really, of course, in retrospect, what are you trying to hold on to? Um, just trying to, I discovered at towards the end that after I did get sober, um, you know, marriage, what, when you're in a codependent relationship, you need to be toxic in order for the codependent relationship to work. So that led me to a lot of self-discovery. And I know now, in everything in my life happened in bits and pieces. And if it wasn't for that end and me getting sober and me recognizing that, what, I can't give up being sober just because you need toxic life and craziness. I got to keep moving, do what you got to do. So that's, the direction I went in. But yet I still was struggling with the fact that life had to be about more than being sober. I'm like, God didn't save me. I tried to kill myself 3 times, just let it go. Like, what's the big deal? So I knew there was a bigger purpose for me. I just didn't see the purpose. And so I was lucky. I was working at Elmhurst Hospital at the time, and I saw an advertisement for applying for a mayor's graduate scholarship. And I was really good in my sobriety at the time. And I checked with my my support group. And I said, I applied and I got it. So my path led me there, and I thought to myself, well, this makes sense. This makes sense that I've been always working in a hospital environment, working in mostly always comfortable in a helping capacity, helping people. I worked in hospital, in emergency room since I was 18. So doing that always made me feel good. That whole kind of environment just always made me feel good. So it made sense that I'd be going back in to study social work. I was, terrified, but because I'm not that book smart girl or anything like that, but I knew that if it was being led to to me to go there, I was going to be able to do it. And that was the transformation um, that it took me on, and still takes me on. When I hear the word transformation, I still it doesn't even kind of it doesn't even like what you go through in your you know in your life. What you should expect to go through is several transformations in your life. you know
Yes.
I was just telling her on the break that it's no coincidence, and that I needed this show today. It wasn't her. I needed this show today because I happen to be struggling with, low self-esteem, low confidence, feeling like, what am I doing? Like, why am I here again? Feeling, really not particularly strong, but yet everybody else seems to feel like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like you don't seem to yet faced with the same need for transformation again. And despite how many times you are broken and transformed, yet you still somehow end up for some reason holding on to some pieces of that old um, broken piece of rock. And it's, yes, it's amazing to me that we could still hold on to those broken pieces like they're our air, um like those are the real parts of us, when in reality, I mean, it's all part of us. If it wasn't for those the person who was drunk enough to go through that, I wouldn't be a social worker, because I would have never gotten sober and I would have never done this. So transformation is something that continues. It's like the pandemic. It's look at the disease. It's already a new one. That's the whole point of life. Life is supposed to sustain itself by changing, and change in and of itself is supposed to be traumatic. If it doesn't hurt, it's not going to work. So here I am again, and despite the the well, that transformation that happened to me, it was an amazing, it was cathartic, it was wonderful, but it was a slow, you know kind of slow, and then
Yes.
but impactful in every moment and every time. I remember, looking back and saying, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense now. But I always tell myself, if I'm going through this right now, and if these tears are coming out of my eyes, it's because I have to learn something. And eventually, I either want to continue shedding these tears and feeling the way I do, or I'm going to have to actually do some kind of work. What is it that I'm so afraid of learning? And we do this no matter how much, how smart you are, how intelligent you are. I don't care who you are. The day you stop struggling or questioning the things that you do, you might as well just give up, because you're not doing anything. you know what are you working towards? What is your challenge? What is, because the journey is supposed to never end. That's the whole point. You're supposed to like new things, discover new things. Everything is constantly changing. Even how I practice. I started out with a clear dedication that I was going to work with people who wanted to gain sobriety, wanted to get sober, And, I've helped, I've helped two people, and those are the two people I cling to, granted, that's where my path took me. I can't move to a place where the doors are not open for me. You know what I mean? So, it's just not where I was supposed to be. Maybe it's because I tell people how it is. You're full of shit. You're drinking right now. I don't know, but that's how I learned, and that's who I am. Maybe and I know my story's still evolving, but transformation, that word, um,
Thank
it
you.
doesn't even do it justice for the word metamorphosis. I guess that's why it's tattooed on the back of my neck. What a joke. God is not without a sense of humor. Now I get the funny part of it. That's funny.
Thank
Wow.
you, Larissa, for sharing that. And Larissa, I wanted to ask you, what was the one thing that impacted you the greatest during your healing and transformation journey? And how do you feel that helps you better to assist your clients in their healing journey?
Okay. So at first, in the beginning of my healing, I remember, you know, alcoholics are such very funny characters, I would say. Anyway, so I get in my head, I say, oh, I figured it out. I'm gonna go to an AA meeting, and then I'm gonna go drink, because really, all I had to do was go to an AA meeting. That's all the requirement was: go to an AA meeting. Then I could shut my family up, and then I get what I want. It's a win-win situation. Happy, happy, But and as I was working with a therapist, and I remember her telling me, no, you have to go to AA. You have to go. You have to understand that this is a program of honesty. You have to be honest. And I'm like, honesty? I'm an alcoholic. Honesty? That's the point. You have to keep on. I'm like, and it never hit me until I, naturally they ingrain this into you, because that's part of the program. You're broken. When I hit bottom, I understood what surrender was, because that's when I gave up, and I hung on to, like, I had a choice of die or live, and I chose life. And that was a clear decision that I made, and I moved forward in it. And I still believe that that's something that God did for me that I couldn't do, was stop drinking. So once I did that, I went and I started doing my steps, even though, I did my AA, I did my 90 meetings. I listened to what people were telling me, and doing, that's something that people struggle with in any kind of program, any kind of recovery work, any kind of change that you want to make. You don't want to listen to the people that are trying to help you. And I think the biggest thing that helped me was understanding that, number one, you don't know anything. That's why you're here. Number two was, you have to, if you're not honest to the people that are helping you, you're not fooling nobody. You're fooling yourself into thinking that you're getting over by something, and you're not. Okay. So the biggest takeaway for me was, honesty. Honesty, living a life of honesty for myself, being honest, living 24 hours a day, living my life very simply, in the sense that, I'm not living simply in that sense, because I love nice things, now, but, and always have, but I, in the sense that, a lot of things don't make me happy. I see my friend, that makes me happy. I'm happy, done, but the idea that I'm being honest with myself, I don't have to worry about anything. I can die today and know everything is good. Why? Because I was honest with the people that helped me. I did what I had to do. How that helps the people I help is because that they can look at my face and they know that I'm authentic to them.
Very important.
It's just something that I know, that I remember looking at people and I knew if in my heart, if this person was lying to me, or was just has been here way too long and is just reading me a script, or if the person actually knew what I was feeling or really cared what I was feeling. So it makes a big difference when someone is blowing air at you and saying, okay, number 54444, go drink your blah, 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 go sit and do 10 Hail Marys, as opposed to someone who's like, it must have been really difficult for you to, get raped. And, now, it must have been difficult, like, and feel heard. So yeah, being able to be authentic to someone, and that was the biggest thing, learning what authenticity is and honesty, because I had to learn what that was about.
Thank you for sharing that, Larissa. And thank you really for being, I mean, this is real talk, folks, and that's what I've always loved about you, Larissa, that you have always been very real, very, just speak the truth, which I respect. That's the way I was raised. My father was very, spoke the truth. So did my mom, whether we wanted to hear it or not. But I feel that that helps you grow up. It helps you to see the realities in life, and it makes you want to change and create a better version of yourself instead of people, sugarcoating things and patting you on the back and saying, oh, it's okay. And then when you walk away, they're like, oh my God. So thank you for your honesty. Thank you for being authentic and for being so real, because the world, we need that. We need more real people in the world who can tell it like it is, because that's how we're going to change, by holding that mirror to our face. So thank you. During this pandemic, have you seen a rise in the numbers of individuals drinking alcohol in order to cope?
And what to go?
In order to cope with this pandemic, have
Oh,
you seen a rise in people drinking and kind of falling into
well,
becoming an
okay.
alcoholic? Just
Yes, Yvette.
to cope.
So this is a great question that you've asked. So the pandemic has really impacted people in various ways. So it's either really helped you free yourself, like we've talked about. It's given people an opportunity to finally work from home, get out of that kind of rat race. But it's also kind of challenged people to now who have never been who sat at home with their kids, and now it's like 5 people in one room, a tiny room, and now they have to face each other to really have have create discord, and it's been very difficult for a lot of people, especially when the time that, let's say, the primary worker is out of the house, he now that person is there, and they all feel like there's no space and there's no time for anyone, and no one's valuing each other's there's no respect, there's no boundaries. So there's a lot of there's an increase in depression, anxiety. There is an increase in, from what I'm seeing, in separation. um, there I could imagine, I don't know the statistics. I would imagine that there's a direct correlation with an increase in drinking. If there's a direct increase, I can tell you there's a direct increase in weight gain. So if you're eating, chances are you're drinking. But there is a direct increase in symptoms of depression and anxiety. So that's naturally, happening. The good thing is that with this pandemic, the world has been forced to realize, that some people are better served at home, and they don't have to go to a clinic to get services. You don't necessarily have to sit in an office to provide mental health services. And finally, people are hopefully realizing that, mental health is just like, asthma, just like anything else. You know, stop stigmatizing things that really it's not. It's something that happens to everybody. And honestly, I'm glad everybody in this planet now felt what anxiety feels like, what depression feels like, because no one in this world can tell me that they have not felt a bit of each during these since March, because that's what life's about. These are natural emotions that occur in your body. It's your GPS system. It tells you what, how to, it prompts you to tell you what you need to do. The problem is that we forget how to deal with those things. You know, if you're feeling anxious, okay, it's telling you, well, you got to do something. What is the thing that you have to do? Naturally, there's some things that have to be, that are more organic and more, I'm simplifying the situation, but only to make a point that now everybody can understand that, depression happens to everyone, anxiety happens to everyone. We're all the same when it comes to that. And, you know, a lot of good things happened during this pandemic in that aspect. But I'm sorry, I got off topic with regard to that. But
Oh, thank
yeah,
you.
there was from the people that I've been working with, I have seen a lot of an increase in their their in these symptoms, because they didn't know how to cope in the first place. If the relationship was already had issues to begin with. So for instance, if the man or the woman, whoever's going out of the house to work and whoever's staying at home, you know that's their 7 hours away from that one, and that's their 7 hours away from that one. So once they come together, it's like, now what do? We got to talk to each other. But the people don't understand how to interact. You have kids that might not have had the internet to deal with, and you have families literally going to the corner to McDonald's to be able to do their homework. So it's a big stressor. Okay, you have imagine a whole little cohort going to the corner to do your homework because it's virtual school. Where do you think those kids are going to get COVID? On the corner with the rest of the kids at the virtual school. It's just unheard of. Instead of just giving everybody the internet. I don't know. It's just some things are just like, what's going on? But people are doing what they can, and that's all they can do. But between the insurance, and it's too much, and
Yeah.
some people just don't know how to cope. So yes, there is an increase in all that stuff. And following at the heels of a very toxic 2020 and end year election, yes, everybody's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So
Okay. Now, your professional opinion. You just said this. What, as a professional, as a therapist, what would you recommend, or what golden nugget can you share that people that are in this situation that they could do? Would you recommend meditation? Do you,
which situations?
you know,
Do they have kids or do they not have kids? Do they work? Are they a couple or are they single?
well, let's say intact family.
Intact family. So if you have to create spaces, you have to create safe boundaries, and everybody has to be on the same boat. And you have to be very respectful. So if daddy's coming home at whatever time, well, daddy has his time, mommy has to have her time, and the kids have to be reeled in, and they got to get their time for school. And after school, they're going to have to be shoved into a box, whatever, but everybody has to you have to create spaces of, even if you live in a studio, you have to create a space for yourself. So if it's a no-fly zone for where dad gets to listen to his headset, or he could sit in the bathroom for half an hour as soon as he gets home, don't bother him. Or if it's an hour, right when he gets home, nobody bothers daddy for an hour, we ignore him, then we have to respect that. Or if it's an hour, as soon as daddy gets home, mommy's off, nobody knows who mommy is because she's going to go running. That's got to happen.
So some downtime.
Absolutely.
Everybody, and
Agreed
respecting.
upon, and then respect it. you
So
know?
everybody agrees on the boundaries, and